How's it hanging, everybody? Today we're going to talk about some of the best, well, the best puzzle video games you can play for your Nintendo Switch. I have a tiered list here. We've got 35 entries. Who am I, you ask? It's not important. It's not important who I am. However, I'm a guy you found on YouTube, and I like to play puzzle video games, especially on my Nintendo Switch, because it's just a nice, it's a nice platform for casual video games, and I feel like puzzle games are mostly very casual video games, and they can be immersive, they can be very action-oriented, they can be pretty intense at times, but for the most part, they're a little more on the casual side in some way or another, and I think the Switch is just a really good fit for most of the games on this list. So this is a personal list. These are my favorite go-to games, and I've actually included a few other popular games that I haven't played because I feel like I may be able to add a little bit of anecdotal information for you guys on these entries, even the ones I haven't played. So anyway, I've got a lot to get through, so let's go ahead and start, shall we? Yes, we shall. So we're starting with Picross. Now, I've got Picross S4 here, but I'm really talking about the entire Picross series on the Switch, and every other Nintendo platform for that matter, but really on the Switch. Here's the thing. Puzzle games, Picross is one of Nintendo's secret, low-key best franchises. Now, it's not technically a first-party franchise for Nintendo. All of these games are made by a company called Jupiter, and Jupiter is responsible for making all the Picross games. The Picross S series is the one for Nintendo Switch. There's currently 4 entries, and Jupiter has some other Picross entries as well, like more themed entries, but I would stick to the main entries if I were you. Here's the thing though, Picross, you've probably heard about it, you've probably seen it, you've probably seen one of these stupid like knockoff inferior games for the Switch, but I would say steer clear of all those. Stick with the actual Picross series itself. When you see the word Picross on the Switch, then you'll know it's a quality product. If you see Pick-a-Pix Plus or something like that, I would just steer clear. But Picross for the Switch, in my mind, I'm going to give it an A. I'm tempted to give it an S, but at the end of the day, all of these puzzles are very simple. It's almost like crossword puzzle simple. It's not exactly brilliant gameplay, although it is incredibly well implemented, but it's not really about that. It's more about just the experience of Picross puzzles, similarly to Sudoku or crosswords. They're very simple, grid-based puzzles, and you can do them with pen and paper, but they're really fun to play in video game form. So next up we have Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. I don't know why I fudged that, because this is one of my favorite games on the Switch. This is a fantastic game. I'm going to go ahead and cram it right up here in the S tier, because I do believe it's truly that good. Captain Toad Treasure Tracker is an amazing kind of 3D platformy puzzle adventure game. It has beautiful diorama levels. It has beautiful graphics. It is so serene. It is so toy-like, and it has a fair amount of challenge. I mean, it's easy. It's an easy game just to play through, but to get, to be a completionist and get all of the little knickknacks throughout each level it takes some work. So it's an easy-ish game, but if you really want to make the most out of it, you can absolutely do that. Because there's just a lot of variety there. I could really go on and on about Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. It originally came out on the Wii U. It was reissued for the Switch. If you haven't played it, just please play it. That's all I gotta say. This is one that I'm begging you guys. You just gotta play it. It's an S. It's an absolute S on our tier list here. Okay, Donut County. So one theme we're gonna run into here on this particular video is that a lot of these games are more like mobile games that got ported to the Switch. And they have a very, they feel like mobile games. And Donut County is a game that feels, in my opinion, much like a mobile game. That's probably because I played it on mobile. So technically I have not played this on the Switch. I'm not sure exactly what the experience of playing it on the Switch would be, but it is a game that is very touchscreen oriented, and I can't imagine it being that crazy different on the Switch because the Switch is also a touchscreen. So I don't know if the controls somehow play a role in this game and how it plays on the Switch. I can't really imagine that it would unless you just have a pointers. I don't know. I'm speculating a lot. What I can say about Donut County when I played it though is that it's a very, very casual game. I completely skipped all of the story. I'm kind of sad to say that, but I was on holiday with family in town, and I was just like needing something to do, needing something to occupy myself with, and I was just zooming through Donut County, like on the couch, family's watching TV or something. I'm just like zooming through this game. Took me a couple hours to beat, no problem. And I skipped all the dialogue, all the story. I know there's some cool story in there that I completely skipped over. That's what I keep hearing anyway. But yeah, Donut County is, for me, I would say it's kind of a C tier game, but it's a very popular game. A lot of people really like it. My own experience with it just wasn't that great. That's probably because of the way I played it, but ultimately I'm just going to put that in haven't played because I haven't played it on the Switch, and I just really can't comment how the translation really is. Similarly, in our next entry here, we have Hidden Folks, and again, I don't know exactly how that would play on the Switch. I assume it's a good experience, but I just don't know. I love the game though. I love the game on mobile. I just don't know. I don't know if I should rank this one, because some of the ones that I haven't played on Switch I'm still gonna rank just because I feel like I understand how it would play on the Switch. But Hidden Folks is one of those touchscreen games. But I can imagine myself playing this one a little more easily than Donut County. So basically, Hidden Folks is essentially like Where's Waldo for a game console. That's basically what it is. And it's awesome. Hidden Folks is very, very good. So I'm going to say, for me, this feels like a B, because it's definitely not as profound a game. It's not as profound an experience to be an S or an A tier game, but it's very, very solid and very much worth your time. And I imagine it would play very well on the Switch. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that in the B tier. Next up is Katamari Damacy Reroll. This is a reissue of Katamari Damacy that came out in like the 2000s. And I always kind of thought that game was overrated, to be honest. And I thought the controls were always really clunky, and I didn't really enjoy the controls. But I haven't really played the game on the Switch, so I'm not going to put it on the list. I'm going to put it in haven't played, but I can say it's a very popular game. People rant and rave about it. The controls are weird and frustrating, at least when I played it back in the day. I haven't played the new version. Maybe it's better. Do some research on that before you go running and picking it up, though, I'd say. But it's a very quirky game, and it's a very interesting high concept game. It's a very funny game, but I hesitate on that one, man. I feel like it's maybe a bit overrated. That's just the feeling I get. That's more of a feeling than actual experience. Please understand that. The next up, we kind of have a pair of games here. We have Limbo and Inside, both made by the same developers. the name of whom escapes me at this moment, but they are both amazing games. If you have not played either of these games, they are games that are going to look perfect on the Switch. About as, as good as you would ever want them to look. And Limbo, it was the first of these games that came out. It's all incredibly black and white, high contrast, blown out with the very, very black backdrops or environments that you're in, along with the character. And then the background is like a hazy white gray. And it's the creepiest game, one of the creepiest games I've ever played. For Limbo, I'm going to go ahead and put Limbo in B, because I really think the star of these two games is Inside. Inside, I have to give an S tier to. Inside is much like Limbo, it is a side-scrolling platformer puzzle game that has an insane story. No dialogue. It's all stuff that you have to interpret as you go, but you can start to piece together what's happening in Inside, and then the ending of Inside is crazy. It is crazy. It is crazy. Man, you know what I'm saying? It's wild, and it's a game that only takes about 5 hours to play through. So really no excuse, and it's also usually pretty cheap. So Inside is one that I'm begging you to play. Dear viewer, please play Inside. It is one of my favorite games of all time. Okay, next up is Real Mist. Now, drip check again. I do have the Mist dad hat. I'm representing for the puzzle culture here, but this implementation of Mist is a hot mess. I would not mess with this. It recently came out. I played it. It immediately felt like almost broken. Mist is, in my opinion, a very good game. One of the highest selling games of all time. A game that so many of us had on our Windows PCs back in the 90s. And it was awkward, and it played awkwardly, and it was weird that it was just sort of a picture book almost. But it was a beautiful picture book, I thought. It was very high concept, pushed a lot of boundaries at the time, and to this day we still have so many Mist rip-offs on the market. We're going to talk about several of them here on this video. But anyway, Real Mist, this implementation of Real Mist is like a remake of Mist, sort of like a 3D remake. And it's not that great, but the Switch version is like really, really super not that great. Just does not perform well. The video, the feeling is just very choppy. It's bad, man. So this is going in D tier, unfortunately. But I still like the game. I do not regret the drip. Next up, we have Luminous, I guess is how most people say it. I don't know why it's not called Lumines, but this is an older game. I think it was originally available on the PSP. This was my first time really playing it. It was on the Switch, and it's fun, man. It's hella fun, for sure. It is a game that is like... It is a fast Tetris-style rhythm game, I guess. It may be a little more akin to Columns than Tetris, but it's very rhythmic. The music is actually a little dated, if I'm being honest, but feels very good in the game, works really well with the game. Luminous is gonna have to be a B tier, I think. Next up, we have Gorogoa. Gorogoa is one of my favorite mobile games of all time. I'm very happy to see it on consoles. I'm very happy to see it on the Switch having a physical release attached to it. That's really exciting. I didn't even realize that was the case until I pulled this list up or put these entries together. But Gorogoa is a storybook style game where you are going through the pages of a book. You're moving things around to fit them together on different pages, and kind of moving elements of different pages on top of each other to interact and to change things up. And that's what it is, but it's a very beautiful, high concept game. Incredibly beautiful art style. One of the most beautiful art styles I've ever seen in a game. Gorogoa is an S. It's got to be an S, man. And even though it's a mobile game, I have played it on the Switch because I like it that much. It's a great game to play on your TV. It's a great game to play handheld with the touchscreen. It is a monster of an artsy indie game, basically. It's a masterpiece. Please, dear viewer, please play Gorogoa. I'm just saying, man. Next up is Machinarium. Oh man, we got some heavy hitters here. Machinarium is by Amanita Studios, who are my favorite developers when it comes to point-and-click adventure games. They kind of brought back the point-and-click formula, which kind of died out in like the 80s and 90s. But then in the late 2000s, Machinarium came out of nowhere, and it seemed to sort of revitalize that genre and do some really cool things with it. So I am all about Machinarium. Like I said, point and click adventure, pretty much to the T. You have a character, you click on things, you walk to that area, you click on objects to interact with them, you fill up your inventory, you move around the space, you unlock things, you gain access to new areas, you move around. It's a simple formula, but it works. It's a classic formula, and Machinarium is one of the best to ever do it. I'm gonna put Machinarium in the A tier. I love that game. I almost did an S, but I feel like S is gonna get pretty crowded. So, leaving it in the A tier. Okay, next up is The Room. Again, another mobile game that was ported to the Switch. Now, the cool thing about The Room on the Switch is there are no other ports of The Room on console. So you can't get it on PS4. Actually, you can get like a VR version of The Room or something on PS4, but you can't get the original version. You can't get it on Xbox One. You can't get it, I think you can get it on like Steam, maybe. But it's really the only console you can pick it up on in this form is the Switch. So that's pretty cool, I think. And The Room is a point and click adventure, but a very different point and click adventure from Machinarium, which we just talked about. The Room is more of a mechanical, like, what do we want to say? It's like the Victorian lockboxes, steampunk aesthetic kind of built in, these sort of like impossibly intricate box designs. You have to unlock a box, and then there's a box within that box, and then just incredibly cool, incredibly innovative gameplay, I think, in The Room. Just basically a AAA mobile game, if we're being the thing is, I don't hate on mobile games. As you can probably tell from this list, there's plenty of mobile games that made their way onto Switch, and I'm not mad at that. I mean, mobile games mostly suck, but when they're good, they can be very, very good. And The Room is one of those examples of a very, very good mobile game. And I've not played it on the Switch though, but I have played it on Steam, and I have played it with I think I played it with a controller. But I would just say The Room is one of those games where it's cheap anywhere you're going to play it. If you like playing games and you don't have access to like an iPad or something like that, then the Switch is a completely fine place to pick up The Room for the first time. And I'm going to give The Room, I'm going to put that in the B tier. Okay. Next up is Baba Is You. Baba Is You is a genius, like an evil genius executed game. It is so it is just like spine-tinglingly intricate in its design and in its gameplay mechanics and in its innovation. It is truly a work of art, Baba Is You. It is a game where you have different objects. Actually, the background you're seeing right now is behind me, that is like text and stuff and objects from the game Baba Is You. So that gives you an idea of what it looks like. But it is a game that you have all these objects on the screen and you define what those objects do by moving words around into lines of code. So Baba Is You is literally a code in the game. And if you move the word Baba away from Is You, then your character dies because there's no Baba anymore. Baba is no longer you, therefore game over. And door is lock, wall is block, or wall is stop. So if you move stop, you can walk through the wall. And the amount that they were able to accomplish with this game, with these mechanics of defining the world around you through these lines of code, it's freakishly just genius. It's amazing. I'm gonna put it in the A tier. I'm not gonna make it S because it's just not for everybody. A lot of people are gonna get frustrated with Baba Is You. I say play it and try it. And if it's not for you, cool. But I don't want to ask you to waste money. I'm not promoting any of these games. I'm not trying to tell you what to buy. But Baba Is You is a fascinating game, absolutely. Okay, the Talos Principle. That is a game I haven't played, but I thought it would be worth mentioning because I have so many friends and people that I know that are really, really enthusiastic about the Talos Principle. And it seems to always be on sale on the Switch and pretty much every other platform as well. So let's stick the Talos Principle in haven't played. Minute is a game where you are alive for 60 seconds at a time, and you have to accomplish a lot of stuff within 60 seconds. So basically, it's this kind of top-down view. It's all black and white, pixel art game. You move around a space, and you can find a new save point that's a ways away, but actually finding it and getting there and getting access to that area where you get to do that's where the challenge comes in. And it's a really interesting, fun little game. I mean, very casual, like literally you die every 60 seconds, but it's like you're still progressing. Every 60 seconds you get to start over, and you're not always starting over in the same place. You get to uncover new areas, and then you get a new spawn point, and you spawn from there, and then you're working in that area for a while, and then boom, this timer starts again, and then you start over. It's very interesting. I'm gonna give Minute a B tier for here. Now you may notice that I don't have any C tiers, and I only have one D tier. And I guess that's because I just didn't want to put a bunch of like shovelware in this list. I want to make sure that these games are actually worth talking about and worth mentioning. So most of them are going to be, at least in the B tier, but we'll have some C tiers as well. So next up is Glass Masquerade. Now I like Glass Masquerade. I feel like it's better on the PC. But on console, I feel like it would be okay too. It's a game that feels like it would be smoother on with a mouse. But looks like you can get Glass Masquerade Parts 1 and 2 in a bundle. And this is a very cheap game, and it is extremely zen. The gameplay itself, it's just a jigsaw puzzle. That's basically all it is. There's nothing special whatsoever about the gameplay, at least not that I remember, and at least not in the levels that I played. But it's so well executed. The visuals are so cool. The music and sound design is so cool. And it is just, like I said, it is zen. It is like an ASMR video game, puzzle game. I'm putting it in C tier, but that is a very enthusiastic C, my friends. The next up is Hob. Now, I have played some of Hob, not a ton. Hob is I don't know. It's not an easy word. It's not an easy game to describe, and I think that may partially be because of my lack of enthusiasm for the game. It's not a bad game. It's not a bad game, but it is very ordinary. It is a very ordinary feeling in playing puzzle platformer. Do I want to call it a platformer? It's a 3D game. It's a top-down. It's a top-down puzzle game. But probably the coolest part about it is the visuals. So it's got a cool art style. It's by the makers of Torchlight. So it's got, a bit of a steampunky kind of aesthetic to it, and it's got an interesting art style. I'm gonna give Hob a C because it's definitely not a great game, but it's not bad either. And I think you can get it on sale like quite a lot as well. Eyes of Ara, haven't played that one, but Eyes of Ara is very much I think it's very much like a Myst clone, and I've been wanting to check it out forever. So I'm kind of just putting it here to remind myself, hey, one of these days you actually need to play this. Poyo Tetris. Okay. Poyo Tetris was one of the first like puzzle games to come out on the Switch, I believe. I've tried playing Poyo, and I know it's a frantically competitive game out there in different parts of the world. I think in Japan, it is a massive success. It's up there with Tetris in terms of its appeal and its competitiveness, and the players around the game. It may even be like an esport game in Asia. I don't know, but I don't like it. I don't like it. I am gonna put this in haven't played because I haven't really like given it a really fair shot. I mean, I only played the demo, I think, and I just didn't love it. And again, I've tried playing Puyo. I have some other Puyo games as well, or just one other. I think I have one other Puyo game, and I've really tried, man. But I don't know. It's a very popular game, again, in some parts of the world, and it is a game that you play alongside Tetris, so you're battling against each other, and your game style switches back and forth between Tetris and Puyo. So the Tetris part is cool, but then the Puyo is like... Puyo is just... It just seems so hard to play fast. Like, when I watch the CPU that I play against with Puyo, I can't understand how fast it goes. It's just, and again, I'm just basically too dumb. That's all I'm saying. I'm too dumb to play Puyo. So it's my fault. It's my bad. I'm bad at it. I have to basically disqualify it from the list because I suck. That's all it is. Anyway, Art of Balance was a really cool 3DS game that involved a lot of touchscreen action, a lot of the stylus with 3DS. I'm really unclear on how that would translate to the Switch. Maybe it uses touch controls, maybe not. I don't know. It's fun. I enjoyed it. I played it a lot on the Switch. I'm sorry, on the 3DS. But I have no idea how that one would work out on the Switch. Okay. What the Golf? What the Golf is a game that I believe debuted on Apple Arcade, which tells you a lot. It's a mobile game, basically, and it's a very casual game, and it's kind of a puzzle game, but kind of an art installation, and excuse me, and not really much to write home about, in my opinion. It's a popular game. It's a talking point. People like to talk about What the Golf. I played through a lot of it. It's a D for me, man. It's a D, What the Golf, for me. I don't know. It's just not amazing. It's overhyped. Very much overhyped. Okay, Wilmot's Warehouse. is a warehouse and retail organization game. You are organizing a warehouse floor, and you have to make all of your items, and you have to make all of your items accessible to the front counter. So products that are in demand, they need to be up front as close as you can get. And really every item in the store needs to be well organized and situated in such a way that you can actually get to it. And it gets more and more challenging because the more stock you take in, the more you have to organize, the more bulk there is. And then another genius thing I love about Wilmot's Warehouse is the items that show up are like just simple shapes, and sometimes they don't necessarily look like anything. Like it'll be a stick with a little white thing on the end of it, and it's like, well, is that a wand, or is that like sports equipment, or what even is it? I don't know. I can't put it in sporting goods because I don't know what the hell it is. Should I just put it in this random shapes aisle over here? And ultimately it's up to you to find all of these weird shapes, interpret what you think they look like, and group the similar ones together in whatever way works best for you. So Wilmot's Warehouse is an amazing game. I am going to give that one a B. It's very similar to Baba Is You in the sort of scale and scope, but I think the better game is Baba Is You there. If you have to play one of those two, definitely go with Baba Is You. Next up is Superluminal. Okay, this is a reminder to myself to play Superluminal. It's been around for a while on like PC and stuff, but now it's finally available on the Switch. It's actually discounted right now, I think for $16, down from $20. And it's a very cool looking 3D kind of Portal-esque game where you're in a room, you manipulate the room around, first person game. Looks really cool. So I haven't played it, but I'd like to. Okay, next up, Box Boy and Box Girl. Haven't played this one either. However, I did play some of one of the Box Boy games on the 3DS, and I thought that it was really simplistic and kind of overhyped. I didn't play very much of it though, so I didn't give it a really fair shot. But what I played, I thought was not great. Okay. Next up, Return of the Obrah Din. So I have to rank this, even though I've only played it on PC. It felt very much like a PC game when I played it, because there's a lot of menu digging and stuff like that. It felt very good with the mouse. I'm not quite sure how that would translate to the Switch or to any console, but my understanding is that it works really well. So, and I love the art style of Return of the Obrah Din. It is amazing art style. Looks like the old Mac Venture games from the 1980s. If you have any idea what I'm talking about, yes, I'm old. I never really I don't think I was old enough to play those games when they came out, but I do remember them existing, and I remember seeing them here and there when I was a very young kid. And I definitely, the art style of this game definitely sticks out in my mind, because I remember that strange, like Apple IIe 2GS art style. It's actually, no, it's a Macintosh art style. I remember that art style very, very well. And the Return of the Obrah Din does a 3D interpretation of that art style, and it looks absolutely insane and amazing. The creator of the game, his name escapes me, but he also did Papers, Please, which is another fantastic puzzle adventure game. But Return of the Obrah Din is a detective style game, and it's not a difficult game to play, and that's partially because it's kind of easy to do some guesswork, you know what I mean? So it's not a difficult game to play through. You can figure everything out, and you can get, one of the bad endings and then keep playing and get the good endings, kind of one of those type of games. So detective style game, genius game. Play Return of the Obrah Din. It's an A tier for me. It's close to an S. That and Baba Is You are very, very close to the S tier, but I just can't quite do it because it's not the best of the best on the console, if I'm being honest. Okay, next up is Grease, whatever you want to call it. Gris. Okay, D. Grease is a D. It is a gorgeous D. Should it be a C then? If you're a D but you're gorge, you get to be a C. Okay, I'm giving it the C upgrade. So lots of people love Grease. So you need to do more than just listen to what I'm saying, because there's a lot of people out there that absolutely gush over this game. They love it. I think that it's a beautiful game I think it's a beautiful art installation that is basically, that's the shell of a pretty shallow 2D platformer puzzler game. It's really just the game itself is just sort of a platform for which the art and the implementation of the art to exist. It's a gorgeous game. Beautiful illustrative style, beautiful use of color, comic style, like almost like 1960s psychedelic comic style beauty. It's a great looking game. Kind of wish it were like a movie or a short film or something, because I don't think it works that well as a game, unfortunately. Okay, Unraveled 2. I haven't played that, but that is a heavy-hitting puzzle game on the Switch. It's definitely gotten good reviews. It's one of the only indie games that is out under EA, which is kind of a company that people laugh at a lot for not doing indie style games and for just doing like dumb microtransaction-y type games and revenue strategies, I guess. Okay, next up is Q.U.B.E 2. All right, so here's what I'm going to say. Q.U.B.E 1, Q.U.B.E 2, again, Q.U.B.E 1, Q.U.B.E 2, yeah. Q.U.B.E 2 is a cool game. The first game, don't even bother, but the second game is literally up there with Portal in terms of being an amazing first-person style puzzle platformer-ish game. It's a very action-oriented game. You're going to do a lot of jumping, a lot of flying across a room off of a platform or off of a jumping pad thing to get to some other area, and then you're being catapulted all around, and then you're creating platforms for yourself. You're creating blocks to manipulate. It's very much like a Portal style game, just without the portals and with other mechanics introduced. But here's the thing about Q.U.B.E 2. Play Q.U.B.E 2 on whatever your best hardware available to you is. If you have a PS4 Pro or something like that, play it there. If you have a pretty good PC, play it there. If your best bet or if your best available console to you in terms of performance is the Nintendo Switch, then absolutely 100% play Q.U.B.E 2 on the Nintendo Switch. It's a totally fine place to play it, but it's one of those games that's very important for me to say it's just a gorgeous 3D game experience. So the better platform you have to play it on, the better your experience is going to be, in my opinion. But the Switch is still a very much okay way to play that game. That is an in-between an A and a B, I think. I think I'm going to give it a B. But that is a very, very enthusiastic B, leaning into an A almost. Yeah. It feels like an A. It feels like an A, but I'm gonna dock a point just because it's not super original. It's kind of a Portal clone, but it's just a really well-made Portal clone. Okay, next up is Round Guard. Okay. Round Guard is fun. Round Guard is a game that is a lot like Peggle. I don't know if you know what Peggle is, but Peggle borrows a lot from pachinko, like the Japanese gambling machines, slot machine type things, pinball-y, slot machine-y type things. And Round Guard is like a version of Peggle, but it's like kind of medieval themed, and it's a roguelite. It's fun. It's Peggle. So it's an easy C. It's not amazing. It's an easy C. It's a solid C. I would say play that before you play any of these other C level games. That's what I'm saying personally. It's also available on Apple Arcade. So again, one of those mobile games that, so the funny thing about that is I totally would have played it on Apple Arcade. So here's the thing. I keep mentioning Apple Arcade. I don't care about Apple. Like I'm sitting in front of a Windows PC right now filming this. Apple is fine. I have an iPhone. I use Apple products at work and stuff like that. But am I like invested as a consumer in Apple as a company? No. But Apple Arcade I think is pretty cool because it's $5 a month, which ain't a lot, and you get a lot of content. For example, today, Creeks came out, which we're going to talk about. I'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, so Round Guard is available on Apple Arcade, and I didn't know that, so I bought it on the Switch. And then I felt stupid, but it's okay because it's fun. It's fun to play on the Switch, so whatever. Anyway, next up we have Columns 2. The Sega... Wait, what is it? Columns 2... I can't remember the subtitle, and I can't read it. Sega Ages, Columns 2. This is an arcade game, not an arcade style game, a literal arcade game. Columns 2. It's really fun. Do you like columns? Do you like columns? I like columns. I played this game a lot, actually. I'm going to give this a C because it is not exactly a new, amazing experience to have, but it is a very solid relic of the past, a very good history lesson on how puzzle games used to be back in the day, and especially in the arcade. I mean, there was actually puzzle games in the arcade, believe it or not. That's kind of crazy. Okay, next up is my favorite Switch puzzle game. Is it? I think I already said that about Captain Toad. They both are, I guess. Tetris 99 is an S. Tetris 99 is free, for one, with Nintendo Switch's online service, which you probably have. It would be weird to have a Switch and not have that service at all. If anything, even if you don't do a lot of multiplayer games, it's cool to have those like NES games and SNES games, in my opinion. It's worth it for that alone. But you do get the benefit of the online stuff. And then you get Tetris 99 for free. And you should buy that game. You can actually buy the game as well. I think you can buy like a physical copy or something, or you can buy like so I think I paid $10 to buy extra features for Tetris 99. So it comes with like the single player modes and all that stuff. So I will tell you all, viewers, dear viewers, I will tell you that I very recently got my first number 1 in Tetris 99. I was stoked. To get my first number 1. It took me well over a year to get it. It took me a very long time to get that number 1. I've gotten very close a number of times, but I always choke at the very end. But that's not what's important here. What's important is that Tetris 99 is a perfect implementation of Tetris. It is so airtight with those controls. Like the controls are so amazing. Like when I go and I play like Tetris Effect, which came out, like year before last, like 2018, I think. When I go back and I play Tetris Effect on like my PlayStation, and I feel those controls, it feels not nearly as good, not nearly as tight. It's still tight controls, but something about Tetris 99 just perfects it. It just, the speed, the responsiveness. I think also the Switch's non-D-pad, that guy, has a lot to do with it, because really that thing is perfect for Tetris, because you don't want a wobbly D-pad. You don't want a pivoty D-pad when you're playing Tetris, because when you press left, you don't want to press up left, because if you press up left, that's going to drop your block unintentionally, and you can't have that. You want each button press of the direction pad to be the exact direction you want, and the easiest way to do that is to isolate the buttons into their own individual buttons rather than having a big pivoty D-pad. So the Switch D-pad gets hated on a lot. I like it though. It's basically my favorite D-pad to use for most games. Some exceptions would be like fighting games when you need to do rolly, like Hadouken type stuff. But yeah, I love that D-pad. And I love Tetris 99. Play Tetris 99. Try it. Even if you don't want to play the actual multiplayer mode, there's still a lot of good single player modes. You can just play regular good vanilla Tetris with the perfect implementation of it. So please do that. And again, I don't think you actually well, I think you do have to have the Nintendo Switch Online service, but you don't have to play the Battle Royale mode. You don't have to play against other people. You can just play by your dope self. You know what I'm saying? Okay, next up we have Sexy Brutale. That's another big fat haven't played. But Sexy Brutale is a game that rest in peace, but Total Biscuit told me about a few years ago before he passed. It was one of his favorite games of the year that year. I think it was maybe 2017, maybe 2018. So I picked up that game and I just never got around to playing it, but it looks like a very kind of soap opera-ish, highly dramatized game that feels a lot like a play, or like the game Clue, maybe. What am I even saying? I don't know what I'm saying. Sexy Brutale looks like a really cool game. Total Biscuit likes it, so I would like to play it someday. I don't know if I ever will, because I'm just always so backlogged. Next up, okay, I am stoked to tell you guys to preach the gospel of a Tiny Bang Story. A Tiny Bang Story is an A, easily. A Tiny Bang Story is incredibly cheap on the Switch. It's a mobile game. It's an iPad game, basically, that was ported to the Switch, like some of these other games we've talked about. But it is pretty much the best one, other than Gorogoa. It's not better than Gorogoa. But A Tiny Bang Story has the art style very reminiscent of Areum, which is right here, right next to it. And it's definitely an illustrative heavy game. The artwork is fantastic. It's basically a hidden object game. Tiny Bang Story is the Cadillac of hidden object games. It is really fun. It is pretty hard. It is another game that Total Biscuit, I didn't learn about a Tiny Bang Story. I didn't hear about a Tiny Bang Story from Total Biscuit, but he did a really cool video on it. You should go look that up. Anyway, yes, Tiny Bang Story. Great game. Doesn't take too long to play through. Isn't very expensive. Great art style. And let's be real, hidden object games are kind of dope. They're kind of like Spam, which is both disgusting and delicious at the same time. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of icky, but also feels good. Whatever. The Tourist is up next. Man, Tourist. We got some heavy hitters here, y'all. But The Tourist man, The Tourist is a very solid B. The Tourist came out in 2019, so last year, and it is actually kind of a bit of a stretch to call The Tourist a puzzle game because it's very much an action-adventure game as well, but it does have pretty heavy story puzzle elements, and you do have to do a lot of navigating around a lot of different areas to look for different objects to unlock new stuff. So by that effect, it is very much a puzzle game, I guess. But The Tourist is a 3D game, a voxel art game, if you will, so kind of Minecraftian, but incredibly gorgeous game to look at. Gorgeous lighting, gorgeous like hues and colors, like, and it looks so good and crisp and runs so well. 60 frames per second, solid 60 frames per second on the Switch, and it's a really fun puzzle adventure game to play. Yeah, wow, that's a good one. The Tourist. Okay, I had almost forgotten that one was on the list. Okay, and lastly, we're talking about Creaks, which came out today, but not on the Switch, and I haven't played it yet. But here's the deal. I sat down today, right after work, and I was gonna play Creaks on my MacBook that I have for work, okay? It's not available on any other platform yet. I could play it on my phone or something, but I wanted to play it like on an actual screen. So I was gonna play it on my MacBook, and I was like kind of mad about it because I was like, man, I want to play this like, I want the true experience. But I was like, okay, well, let me take my MacBook, I'll hook it up to my monitor, and I'll play that way. So I did that. My monitor, by the way, is not a great monitor, but it's a 4K kind of gaming-ish monitor. It plays at 60 frames per second. It's fine. It wasn't that expensive. But anyway, so I was like, okay, cool. I'll play Creaks at 4K, 60 frames per second. That'll be great. Awesome. Where's my MacBook? So I loaded it up, and I was like, oh no, it's stuttering. That sucks. It's stuttering. And then I lowered the resolution to 1080p, and the stuttering stopped. And so I was like, I don't know if I want to play this game at 1080p. But of course, when you play Creaks on the Switch, when it comes out on the Switch, remember, it will be 1080p. I'm just telling you my first world problem right now, because it was a very emotional time I had earlier today when I discovered I couldn't play this game in the splendors of 4K. That's all I'm saying. Of course, I could have played it in 1080p. I could also play it on the Switch at 1080p. I will probably, if this game is good, and I'm almost certain it will be good, because this is an Amanita designed game. This is the same company that made Machinarium and Botanicula and the Samorost series. This is them. This is the new Amanita design game. This only happens once every handful of years. This is a big deal. This game, when it comes out, it's gonna get my full undivided attention. I'm dropping every other game. I'm playing all the way through Creaks. It's probably gonna take, probably about a 10-hour game. That's kind of how most of them are. So man, I can't wait for that. But I want to play it. I want to play it at 4K, so I'm not gonna play it on the Switch. But I will probably still eventually pick it up on the Switch because I want to support. This is one of my favorite studios. I want to make sure they're supported. I want to make sure I have different experiences playing this game like I have with Machinarium and all the other games from that studio. So, of course, Creaks goes into haven't played yet, but a very important haven't played yet. Definitely the one game in the haven't played yet that I'm definitely going to be playing. And that, friends, concludes the Nintendo Switch Best Puzzle Games, tiered for your pleasure. And here I want to shift our focus back to the S tier and the A tier. These are the stars of the show. These are what I want you guys to remember as the games most worth playing on your Switch. Captain Toad, AAA game, AAA evergreen Nintendo price, but only actually $40. So it's not a AAA price. It's not a $60 game. It's a $40 game. Inside, absolutely incredible cinematic 2D platformer, insane story, insane ending, crazy atmosphere. Play it, play it, play it, play it. Gorogoa, incredible illustrative storybook style puzzle game. Doesn't take very long to play. It's amazing. You will have a religious experience with Gorogoa. Tetris 99, what do I even have to say? It's the perfect implementation of Tetris. Play it. P-Cross. Play the P-Cross games. Try a P-Cross game. If you've never played one, now is the time to... They don't take long to learn how to play, by the way. P-Cross you can pick up on very easily. And they're grid-style picture games where you're uncovering a picture, you're doing it bit by bit, you're remembering patterns, you get very good at it, you get very reactionary muscle memory with P-Cross. Once you get good at it, it's really, 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 really fun. And it's fun when you're learning how to play it too. Play P-Cross. Give it a shot. That's all I'm saying. Mock and Areum, one of the best point-and-click adventure games of all time. Give it a shot. A Tiny Bang Story, one of the best, it's the Cadillac of hidden object games. You know hidden object games, you know they're kind of chill. I'm just saying. They're not what we look for very often, but they're chill. That's all I'm saying about hidden object games, okay? Baba Is You, insanely intelligent, like genius, crazy levels of genius, like weird environment manipulative type of game. Please play that one. Return of the Obrah Din, a narrative masterpiece, a incredible art style detective game. Wonderful. Play that one as well. Okay, the other ones are cool. Maybe give those a shot. These are the biggest, heaviest hitting, hardest hitting puzzle games that I could come up with on the Switch. There's some that I left out. Obviously, there's a bunch here I haven't played, but I wanted to go through these with you guys and hopefully allow you to make some more informed decisions about how you're going to spend your time and your money playing the Nintendo Switch. And really, that's all I got to say, guys.